Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
My obeisances. Before we get started, I wanted to ask you a question. A couple of people have expressed that they appreciate that I post the texts and the purports in the chat, but I'm wondering if you think it might be more clutter than anything else, and if I should stop doing it, or if we should take a poll, or what.
I don't use it, and it makes it harder for me to find people's comments, but other people may follow it. I don't really know.
Yeah, it's the convenience of it is you can have the chat box open and follow along right there without having to switch between windows, database online and whatever. So I didn't know if I should continue doing it or not.
I don't have an opinion. I use my Kindle, so.
Okay.
You can ask if you'd like.
Okay. I will do that at the when maybe just before you start with the class in
okay.
Proper. Okay, I'll do that in a little while then.
All right.
All right.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Jayādvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Jayādvaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare
Vishnupad Padamhansa Padiprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Jayādvaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gokobinath Shama Radha Kundigiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Tham Ki Jai, Navadip Tham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamana Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Oh, today's Friday, indeed. So it's Thursday. All right, let us go to Chaitanya Charitamrita. Adi Lila, chapter 4, text 171. Okay, and welcome to all. And let me switch one switch on my screen. We're ready to go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ateva Kama Preme Bahuta Antar Kama Andatama Prema Nirmal Pashkar. Therefore, lust and love are quite different. Lust is like dense darkness, but love is like the bright sun. Ateva Gopi Ganer Nahikam Gantha Krishna Shuka Lagi Matra Krishna She Shambanta. Thus, there is not the slightest taint of lust in the gopis' love. Their relationship with Krishna is only for the sake of his enjoyment. Yate sujata charanam buduham staneshu pita shanai priyadatimahi karkasheshu tenad tavim atashitad vyatate nakim svit Kurpadi Vir Pramatidhir Bhavad Ayusham Naha. Oh, dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our life rests only in you. Our minds, therefore, are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about in the forest path. Purport. This text from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:31-19 was spoken by the gopis when Krishna left them in the midst of the Rasa Lila. Atma Shuka Duke Gopir Nahika Vichar Krishna Shuka Hetu Cheshta Mano Vyavahar. The gopis do not care for their own pleasures or pains. All their physical and mental activities are directed toward offering enjoyment to Lord Krishna. Krishna lagiyar shab kore parityag, Krishna shuka hetu kore shuddha anurag. They renounced everything for Krishna. They have pure attachment to giving Krishna pleasure. Evam mararto jita loka veda swanam hivo mayanuvrittaye bala maya paroksham pajatati rohitam masuyitum marhata tat priyam priyaha. O my beloved gopis, you have renounced social customs, scriptural injunctions, and your relatives for my sake. I disappeared behind you only to increase your concentration upon me. Since I disappeared for your benefit, you should not be displeased with me. This text from Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Lord Krishna when he returned to the arena of the Ras Leela. Krishner pratigya eko atre purva hoite ye yoiche bhaje Krishna tare bhaje toiche. Lord Krishna has a promise from before to reciprocate with his devotees according to the way they worship him. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manusya partha sarvashaha. In whatever way my devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pritha. Report. Krishna was never ungrateful to the gopis, for as he declares to Arjuna in this verse from the Bhagavad Gita, he reciprocates with his devotees in proportion to the transcendental loving service they render unto him. Everyone follows the path that leads toward him, but there are different degrees of progress on that path. And the Lord is realized in proportion to one's advancement. The path is one, but the progress in approaching the ultimate goal is different, and therefore the proportion of realization of this goal, namely the absolute personality of Godhead, is also different. The gopis attained the highest goal, and Lord Chaitanya affirmed that there's no method of worshiping God higher than that followed by the gopis. She pratigya pangohela gopir bhajane tahate pramana Krishna Shri Mukho bhajane. That promise has been broken by the worship of the gopis, as Lord Krishna himself admits. Napadayeham niravajya samyujam swasadhu krityam vibudhayusha piva yama bhajan durjaya geha shrinkala samvrishya tadva patiyatu sadhuna. O gopis, I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Sri Krishna himself when he returned to the gopis upon hearing their songs of separation. Tabe Jayādvaita gopir nishra deha prita sheha ta krishner lagi janiho nishchita. Now, whatever affection we see the gopis show for their own bodies, know it for certain to be only for the sake of Lord Krishna. Purport: the selfless love of Godhead exhibited by the gopis cannot have any parallel. We should not, therefore, misunderstand the carefulness of the gopis in their personal decoration. The gopis dressed themselves as beautifully as possible, just to make Krishna happy by seeing them. They had no ulterior desires. They dedicated their bodies and everything they possessed to the service of Sri Krishna, taking it for granted that their bodies were meant for his enjoyment. They dressed themselves with the understanding that Krishna would be happy by seeing and touching them. He deha koilon ami Krishna shamarpan tar dhan tar iha shambhoga sadhan. The gopis think, I have offered this body to Lord Krishna. He is its owner, and it brings him enjoyment. E deha darshan sparshe Krishna santoshan e lagi kore deher marjan bhushan. Lord Krishna finds joy in seeing and touching this body. It is for this reason that they cleanse and decorate their bodies. Nijangam api yagopyo mameti samupasate tabya parang name partha nigurtha prema bhajanam. O Arjun, there are no greater receptacles of deep love for me than the gopis, who cleanse and decorate their bodies because they consider them mine. This verse is spoken by Lord Krishna in the Adi Purana. Hare Adbhuta Gopi. Well, before we go on. Om Ajnana Timirantasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakoda Mahyam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Shagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Vijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lolita Sri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Voli Priye Vancha Kopatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We've been discussing the internal reasons for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, and specifically discussing the verse from Swarup Damodar Goswami, in which he discusses three transcendental reasons for the Lord's appearance. The Lord particularly wanted to, he was wondering, what is it that the gopis find about me that's so attractive? And what is it like to love me? What taste are they getting from their service to me? So for Kaviraj Goswami, to explain these points, first wants to establish the nature of that transcendental loving service rendered by the gopis. And he has taken great care to point out that the dealings of the gopis with Krishna are completely different from the lustful dealings of young men and women in this material world. Atmendriya Priti Bancha Taripalikam, Krishnendriya Priti Bancha Tare Premana. The desire to satisfy one's own senses is lust, and the desire to please Krishna's senses is prema, love. So the spirit of the gopis is the spirit of prema. Whatever they did only to satisfy Krishna, without regard for their own happiness. I was reminded that Giriraj Maharaj, by his nature, doesn't care very much about material things, material appearances. So it was his tendency to dress rather haphazardly or without much care. And Srila Prabhupada asked him one time, if I recall the story, that please dress nicely, at least to satisfy me. The preacher has to dress a little nicely to create the right impression for the people he meets. So Prabhupada requested Giriraj Maharaj to dress a little nicely. And on that account, Giriraj Maharaj, of course, agreed. For his own interests, not just throw on a cloth and we're done, but for Prabhupada's service, he could dress nicely. So the gopis also, they dress themselves nicely, they decorate themselves, but it's not for their own happiness, it's for Krishna's happiness. Any comments or questions here so far? So calm encompasses more than sexual desire. It has nothing to do with sexual desire. I see. Yeah, calm. Yes, it encompasses more than sexual desire, correct. Kama. Of course, the focus is sexual desire. Kamadev is Cupid. the deity of sexual desire. So the usual meaning of Kam is sex desire, and we hear from Bhagavatam that's the focus. Striya Pumsamaitani Pavametam. And from there everything expands. Griha, Kshetra, Sutta, Apta, home, children, money, relatives, that all comes, these are expansions of sex desire. So from one point of view, one can say that practically it's all connected with sex desire, but from another point of view, yes, if I'm desiring to enjoy, the enjoying spirit is also calm. It's also, it's the spirit of sense gratification. Kamasya nendriya pritir labho jiveta yavata. Therefore, Bhagavatam says that things shouldn't be done just for sense gratification. Kamasya, not indriya priti, not for indriya priti, not for kam. Jivasya tattva jigyasa, only for self-advancement and spiritual realization. And Saraswati says it's interesting that sometimes Krishna used to tease the gopis who came at night, nicely dressed, to go back home. Yes, these are the dealings of Krishna. That's, my dear ladies, it's very nice that you've come to the forest. You must have come to see the beauty of the forest. Since you've come, can I do anything for you? Very formally. And then he told them that this is not very good, that you're young girls and you've come to the forest at night. It's very dangerous. There's all sorts of wild animals here, and it doesn't look very good for your reputation. Your husbands and family must be worried about you, so better that you go back home. In this way, Krishna was, yes, teasing them. These are Krishna's loving dealings. Yes, Tulsi Priya.
Maharaj, Hare Krishna, thank you. My question is in the text and purport to 178, it's quoting the verse from the Bhagavad Gita, as my devotees surrender, as they surrender to me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. And then the purport goes on to, it's more specifically talking about how Krishna reciprocates with his devotees according to how they deal with him. In the purport to the Bhagavad Gita verse, Prabhupada starts off the purport saying, everyone is searching for Krishna in the different aspects of his manifestations. And I take that to mean that everyone, even if they're pursuing sense gratification, they're actually searching after Krishna, but they don't realize it, or they're in illusion and they think what they really want by attaining Krishna, they're going to get from the material energy and sense gratification. So I'm just wondering if that's the case, is everyone really searching after Krishna and they just don't realize it, or is this really specifically referring more to how devotees surrender to Krishna?
No, not just devotees.
Okay.
Manavartante Manusha Varta Sarvasha, everyone. Suppose I'm a drunkard, so I'm looking for liquor, but Vasudeva Sarvamiti is everything. So he's the Jack Daniels also. He's the, whatever it is that I'm looking for. What is Rasoham Apsukonti? I'm the taste in the liquid. I'm everything. So whatever you're looking for, you're actually looking for me, but you don't realize it. That's Krishna's statement. The Gyanis are looking for me. don't know. They think they're looking for some impersonal something, something, or some abstract something, something. They're actually looking for me, but they don't yet know that. The karmis are looking for sense gratification, but sense gratification is whatever they're looking for their senses. That's actually me. The yogis are looking for mystic powers. They're also a manifestation of me. So everyone's looking for me, but they don't know that.
Right. So that's an important distinction, because we deride those who say it's all one and everything, any path you choose that will take you there. So we're saying it's not that any path you choose that will take you there, it's that whatever path you're on, it's actually meant to be for Krishna, but you're thinking it's going somewhere else.
Even if you're going to hell, so hell is also a manifestation of Krishna. But there's a difference between going to hell and going to heaven or going to Vaikuntha.
And it's not that one path is as good as another.
No. You take the stairs or you take the elevator to get to the top of the Empire State Building. There is a difference.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you. Hare Kadbhuta Gopi Bhaver Swabhav Bhutir Gochar Nahe Yahar Prabhav. There's another wonderful feature of the emotion of the gopis. Its power is beyond the comprehension of the intelligence. Gopigan Kore Rabe Krishna Darshan Shukha Bancha Nahi Shukha Hoy Gopigun. When the gopis see Lord Krishna, they derive unbounded bliss, although they have no desire for such pleasure. Gopika Darshane Krishner Jay Ananda Hoy Taha Hoyte Gopigun Gopi Ashvadoy. The gopis taste a pleasure 10 million times greater than the pleasure Lord Krishna derives from seeing them. Purport: the wonderful characteristics of the gopis are beyond imagination. They have no desire for personal satisfaction, yet when Krishna is happy by seeing them, that happiness of Krishna makes the gopis 1,000,000 times more happy than Krishna himself. Tan shavar nahi nija shuka anurod tatapi parthaye shuka parila virod. The gopis have no inclination for their own enjoyment, and yet their joy increases. That is indeed a contradiction. E virodher ekamatra deki shamadhan gopikar shukha krishna shuke paryashvam. Paryabhasham, yes. For this contradiction, I see only one solution. The joy of the gopis lies in the joy of their beloved Krishna. Purport: the situation of the gopis is perplexing, for although they did not want personal happiness, it was imposed upon them. The solution to this perplexity is that Sri Krishna's sense of happiness is limited by the happiness of the gopis. Devotees at Vrindavan therefore try to serve the gopis, namely Radharani and her associates. If one gains the favor of the gopis, he easily gains the favor of Krishna. because on the recommendation of the gopis, Krishna at once accepts the service of the devotee. Lord Chaitanya therefore wanted to please the gopis instead of Krishna, but his contemporaries misunderstood him, and for this reason Lord Chaitanya renounced the order of household life and became a sannyasi. Gopika darshane Krishner pare prafulata se madhuja pare jar nahika shamata. When Lord Krishna sees the gopis, his joy increases, and his unparalleled sweetness increases also. Amar darshane Krishna paila eta shuka e shuke gopir prafula angamukha. The gopis think, Krishna has obtained so much pleasure by seeing me. That thought increases the fullness and beauty of their faces and bodies. Gopi Shobha Deki Krishna Shobha Bhare Jata Krishna Shobha Deki Kyo Gopir Shobha Bhare Tata. The beauty of Lord Krishna increases at the sight of the beauty of the gopis. And the more the gopis see Lord Krishna's beauty, the more their beauty increases. He mata parashpara pare hudahudi parashpara pare keha mukha nahi mudi. In this way, a competition takes place between them, in which no one acknowledges defeat. Kintu Krishna Shuka hoy Gopi Rupa Gune Tar Shuke Shuka Bridhi Hoye Gopi Gone. Krishna, however, derives pleasure from the beauty and good qualities of the gopis. And when the gopis see his pleasure, the joy of the gopis increases. Ateva she shuka Krishna shuka poshe tu gopi preme nahi kama doshe. Therefore we find that the joy of the gopis nourishes the joy of Lord Krishna. For that reason, the fault of lust is not present in their love. Purport: by looking at the beautiful gopis, Krishna becomes enlivened, and this enlivens the gopis, whose beautiful, youthful faces and bodies blossom. This competition of increasing beauty between the gopis and Krishna, which is without limitations, is so delicate that sometimes mundane moralists mistake these dealings to be purely amorous. These affairs are not at all mundane, because the gopis' intense desire to satisfy Krishna surcharges the entire scene with pure love of Godhead, with not a spot of sexual indulgence. Rupetya patisundari tatibhir abhyarchitam smitankura karambitar natarapanga bhangi sutaihi stanastavaka sancharanayana chanchari kanchalam bhaje vijayinam bhaje vipina deshata kaishavam. I worship Lord Keshava. Coming back from the forest of Braja, he is worshipped by the gopis, who mount the roofs of their palaces and meet him on the path with 100 manners of dancing glances and gentle smile. Corners of his eyes wander like large black bees around the gopis' breasts. This statement appears in the Keshavashtaka of the Stavamala, compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. Are gopi premer shubhavika chinna ye prakare hoy prema kama gandahim. There's another natural symptom of the gopis' love that shows it to be without a trace of lust. Before we go forward, there's this wonderful exchange of reciprocation between the gopis and Krishna. Their desire is only to please him, but his desire is to please them. When he sees that they're pleased, he becomes more pleased. When he becomes more pleased, his beauty increases. When his beauty increases, their beauty increases. So there's this competition between Lord Krishna and his pleasure potency, in which the pleasure of the Lord is always increasing by the pleasure of the gopis. Okay. Gopi preme kore Krishna madhurjer pushti madhurje parhaye prema ha mahatushti. The love of the gopis nourishes the sweetness of Lord Krishna. That sweetness, in turn, increases their love, for they are greatly satisfied. Priti Vishayanande Tadashrayananda Taha Nahi Nijushuka Banchar Shambhanta. The happiness of the abode of love isn't the happiness of the object of that love. This is not a relationship of desire for personal sense gratification. So the abode of the love, the gopis are the abode of love, and Krishna is the object of their love. And their happiness lies in his happiness. So there's no sense gratification involved. Nirupadi prema jaha taha e riti, riti vishoy shuke ashrayer riti. Nija premanande Krishna shebananda pade sheyanandir pratibhaktir hoy mahakrodhe. Whenever there is unselfish love, that is its style. The reservoir of love derives pleasure when the lovable object is pleased. When the pleasure of love interferes with the service of Lord Krishna, the devotee becomes angry towards such ecstasy. Purport. As mentioned above, the gopis are the predominated lovers, and Sri Krishna is the predominator, the beloved. The love of the predominated nourishes the love of the predominator. The gopis had no desire for selfish enjoyment. Their feeling of happiness was indirect, for it was dependent on the pleasure of Krishna. Causeless love of Godhead. So yes, it's dependent. It's not that we want happiness, and so we're going to go for it. We want Krishna to be happy, that's all. And when Krishna is happy, automatically they become happy. If Krishna is not happy, they won't be happy. Not that we'll steal some happiness, and he may be happy or not happy. When he's happy, then we're happy. Causeless love of Godhead is always so. Such pure love is possible only when the predominated is made happy by the happiness of the predominator. Such unadulterated love is exemplified when the lover deprecates her happiness if it hinders her from discharging her service. Angastam bharambham gangayantam premanandam daruko nabhyanandat kamsarater bhijane yena sakshad akshodihan antarayo vyadhahi. Sri Daruka did not relish his ecstatic feelings of love, for they caused his limbs to become stunned and thus obstructed his service of fanning Lord Krishna. This verse is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This is a very important verse, actually. The devotee simply isn't trying to enjoy. He's not even trying to enjoy the ecstasy of loving Krishna. He just wants Krishna to enjoy. The sahajas, they're like doing anything to induce the appearance of ecstatic symptoms. But the pure devotee just wants Krishna to be happy. That's all. Then there's some comments. Let's see. Garima to everyone. We talk about the gopis so much, but aren't their husbands and in-laws also devotees of Krishna? If so, what's their rasa with Krishna? As far as I understand, let's see. The husbands they're almost like fictions. Their role is as the husbands of the gopis is a fiction, practically speaking. They're the so-called husbands of the gopis. Krishna is the actual enjoyer, and their main contribution is to serve as obstructions for the meeting of Krishna and the gopis. That's their contribution. By presenting an obstacle to the meeting of Krishna and the gopis, they enhance the spirit of selfless love. They increase the risk. If the gopis were wives of Krishna, there'd be no risk in their meeting. There'd be no risk of reputational loss. but because the gopis are married, it's disgraceful. They risk everything by going to Krishna in the forest at night. And that risk-taking increases the taste of the loving dealings of the gopis and Krishna. This is the subject of novels and fictions. The hero takes all risks for the heroine, and the heroine also takes risks for the hero. Even in your grade B novels, these things go on. But what if my husband finds out? Don't worry. So this is all a perverted reflection of the transcendental reality. But in that transcendental reality, these husbands are, what can we say? Their role is practically fictitious. But that's their service, to get in the way. I don't know that I can say much more than that. The gopis seeing selfless, Prabhupada says, the gopis seem selfless for Krishna, but Krishna seems to be after the beauty of the gopis, for this pleasure, for his pleasure. How is that? How is it that he is wanting the pleasure of the gopis? That's also an appearance that Krishna, of course, Krishna wants to enjoy. That's the predominator. The predominator is the enjoyer. But even then, the predominator enjoys by seeing the predominated enjoying. That when the beloved is happy, the lover becomes happy. So that's, yes, Krishna wants to enjoy, but this is his enjoyment. Not just sense gratifications. Krishna's senses are automatically satisfied. He's Atmaram. Even the senses of his devotees, the sages and mystics and devotees, are automatically satisfied. Atmarama Shamaniyo, those who are self-satisfied, become attracted to Krishna. So Krishna himself is certainly self-satisfied. He doesn't need sense gratification. But his pleasure lies in this reciprocation with the devotee, in which his goal is to give greater pleasure to the devotee. And the devotee's goal is to give greater pleasure to Krishna. Okay. Tulsi Priya says, there's something I've never understood in the poem of Vrindavan, Leela. The gopis are said to leave their babies behind to be with Krishna in the forest, even though they're not truly married to their husbands. So whence babies? That's also, what can we say? Not exactly fictional, but it's all like stage props and like stage props arranged by Yogamaya. Here are your husbands, here are your children, here are your in-laws. They're all arranged. Of course, the poem of Vrindavan Leela, in the spiritual world, there is no birth, so the question of where the babies come from doesn't come up. In the poem of Leela, yes, but they don't come by sexual congress between the gopis and their husbands. There's some alternative arrangement made by Yogamaya. Yes, disagree.
So can we liken it to, like, let's say when you have a dream, when you start to have a dream, you find yourself in the midst of a situation where you could be talking to Albert Einstein, you could be married to the Queen of England, and you just accept it. You just go with it. So is it kind of like that it's, the gopis or whoever's involved in these leelas, they're just in the leela, and there's no necessity of getting into nitty-gritty or background. It's just like, no, this is just the way it is. That's my husband, that's my child, that's my mother, and really the only reality that's happening is the relationship with Krishna.
Everything is real in one sense because it's all arranged by Krishna. I'm not quite sure I get it, that Krishna is the only reality. They think their husbands are real. They don't think that my husband isn't real, but Krishna is more important, that's all. That, yeah, I have my husband, but Krishna's playing his flute, I have to go.
I guess, we don't hear about like the histories of the gopis, and if there's some sort of leela where they're married to a husband, then there has to be some kind of a history. Or if they have babies, there has to be some kind of a history of the baby coming into being. And so there's, we don't really, as far as I know, I don't really know the background of everything that came before, in the whole history of. I'm sorry?
Because it's not important. Because it's not important.
Mm-hmm.
There is some history. I've heard sometimes how it is that Radharani becomes married to Abhimanyu. There's a discussion of that in some Gaudiya literature. I don't remember which one I heard it from, but there's a history that this was supposed to happen, but then that happened instead, and then this, and then that. So there is a history, but it's all along the same lines of how this obstacle comes up, and the rest of how this gopi married this guy, how that gopi married that gopa. It's just not very important. Those relationships are like, like you have a piece of paper with faint lines on it, and you're writing on that. So the faint lines are not very important. The writing is important. And the faint lines are just to give some structure to things, to give a little bit of a guidance. So they give some structure, but we don't carefully look at those faint blue lines and say, oh, this is very significant. We have to study this. The writing is what we look at. So the relationship of this gopi with that husband and this gopi with another husband, they're just not very, they're in the background. The real relationship that matters is between Krishna and the gopis. And the husbands contribute to that mainly by presenting an obstacle. That's their role.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
So who's that?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Madan Gopal Das.
Wow, really? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Usually
I found a reference. Oh, sorry Maharaj, I think we're cutting out. I found a reference. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can. Yes.
Okay. So this is from Brahma Samhita commentary by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur on 537. I'll just read it. In the Lord of Goloka and the Lord of Gokula, the character of paramourship is found in its complete form. Krishna's deliberate overstepping of his own quality of self-delightedness is caused by the desire of union with another's wedded wife. The state of being another's wedded wife is nothing but the corresponding assumed sentiment on the part of the gopis. In reality, they have no husbands with independent and separate existence. Still, their very egoistic sentiment makes them have the nature of the wedded wives of others. So all the characteristics, namely that desire makes the paramour overstep the boundaries of duty, etc., are eternally present in the seat of all deliciousness. This is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati language. In Vraja, that very thing revealed itself to an extent in a form more tangible to persons with mundane eyes. So I think it's basically exactly saying what you had outlined, Maharaj, but I thought it's a relevant reference.
Thank you so much. Karim says, so the husbands and in-laws don't have any relationship with Krishna. They're created by Yogamaya to increase the rasa between Krishna and the gopis. It appears to be, from what Madan Gopal Prabhu has said, that appears quite close, if not exact. We don't see that the husbands are showing great friendship, or that they're in servitorship, feeling parental love for Krishna. Their main function, again, is to create some obstruction. Okay, and we're at the end of our hour, and Murari Gupta Prabhu is willing to lead Kirtan.
Thank you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
I Om Vishnupada Paramahansa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Sadashri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Aranta Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kundikiri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Jamanamai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory is to the assembled devotees. All glory is to the assembled devotees. Go Premanande. Hari Hari Go. Thank you all once again. Thank you to Lord Guru for the next kirtan. Thank you, Meena Dasi, and thank you all. And we'll pick up with Srimad Bhagavatam again tomorrow.
Oh.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Hare.